Hello and welcome to the Spoilercast and review from GigaBoots for Castlevania Nocturne, Season 1. I'm your host, Dan Video Games, and with me is Bob.
I brought the prerequisite single Castlevania song for this season.
Dr. Aggro.
More like Vampire La Revolucion.
And Chris Wolfhard.
You ever think about AI?
That's right, this time we're reviewing all of Season 1 of Castlevania Nocturne, the Netflix animated series made by some, but not all, very specifically, not all of the creators of the original series. Castlevania, the Netflix.
Oh, that explains some shit.
Well, the title card says created by, and they spun this up as not another season, but technically another series for a very specific reason. They don't have to credit someone who maybe they don't want to have any attachment to. But if you've never listened to one of our spoiler casts and reviews before, what we're going to do at the beginning of this is give a couple sentences each on our thoughts and a micro review type thing. And then at the end of that, instead of giving you a number, we're going to make some sort of guttural sound to give you exactly the emotion we felt watching this. Then after that, we're going to cut into various anecdotes and musings about the thing, criticisms, praises, and etc. And all the way at the end, we're going to give you our synopsis reviews and score out of 1 to 10. Let's get into this. We're going to start with Dr. Aggro.
Castlevania Nocturne is, it's pretty neat. There's a lot of stuff in it, and a lot of things happen, and I'm going to give it a
Bob Video Games.
The previous Castlevania seasons had the advantage of not being based on games that had story, really. This one doesn't really get that, and there's some good stuff and some other stuff that really makes me groan. So I'm going to give it a
Chris Wolfhard.
Castlevania Nocturne looks terrible and is full of actors giving terrible performances. I think basically everything it could be was wasted. Boo.
Castlevania Nocturne is a pretty cool show. I like it. It's probably the best season yet. I'm going to give it a And with that out of the way, we can start having a discussion. That might be divisive.
You're mental, Dan Video Games.
Why is that?
This looks so awful. Every actor sounds asleep. The action is so unbelievably dull. And nobody is a character.
I disagree with many of those, but not all of those. I think many of those could describe a lot of Castlevania, the Netflix. The voice direction in these often is just, I'm going to talk very quietly close to a mic, and then we'll boost it to be insanely loud.
It's worse in this because the writer, obviously, Clive Bradley,
Yeah.
brought in a lot of actors he apparently was just fans of who weren't voice actors.
Yeah, I mean, I did get those vibes.
Yeah, there's some rough dub spots.
Yeah, I got those vibes from a couple characters, but that also wouldn't be incongruous with the prior seasons.
There wasn't any times in the last scenes where I'm like, this should be working for me. Why isn't it? Oh, this dude is a plank of wood.
Which character do you specifically like?
Olrox.
Oh, okay.
Olrox. He was the one where every time I talk, I'm like, you should be so much better than this.
See, like, that delivery worked for me, because I'm like, oh yeah, you know, he's a vampire, so he's like that. And with everybody else, I'm like, oh, these people are traumatized out their ass, so they're just like this.
Yeah, they have bombed out vibes to all of them. Yeah, for Olrox, part of it in my head, part of it in the way I watched it is he's a man who thinks he's really above all of this, and he's very detached from all of this, but then he isn't. And he has a plan.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't even pretend to have a plan.
Yeah, one that. Two, he shouldn't sound so... Look, if you're gonna include a scene where the fucking flamboyant gay vampire is fucking a closeted Templar, it shouldn't be that bland.
What, they had the sex, and then he left. I don't know. What do you want from this? No, that actually has, like, that line he delivers afterwards, the Templar, is fucking hilarious, because he's like, there's only one God, and I have served him my whole life. That hasn't changed and never will. And then the, implied, anyways, thanks for the gay sex.
That part worked. That Templar character, I think, is one of the stronger characters this season.
it's the execution of the scene and that being the cap of the end of it that really did it for me.
I did love while he was pulling on his odd silver pants and shirt that maybe were supposed to be chainmail from a distance. It was kind
That's
of
what it was
unclear.
supposed to be, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
Look, sometimes with the animation quality, you have to just assume.
It's like somebody Googled night and they got a picture of some low budget movie where they're wearing like tinsel shirt or like wool painted to look like chainmail. Like, yeah, that's the stuff.
It's a night in the holodeck.
Man, what did Netflix do to this show? Like, budget-wise. They must have killed it.
I don't know that the budget cratered compared to prior seasons.
It looks so much worse.
Every season has questionable uses of CGI and the background sort of floating in another dimension as they animate two characters fighting.
But now it's like everything. Like, it shouldn't look like fucking this ever. And so much shit looks like that. There's so many times I'm like, did they use AI to make this? It looks like that so often.
Yeah, it is clearly less dripping with money than the earlier seasons were. There were some, I was going to say, interesting stylistic swings they took that maybe didn't always mesh or land. And one fight scene that looks like it was 12 frames a second as a choice.
Yeah, that one clearly just didn't look quite done.
Yeah, that one did not.
I think that something weird here is we're comparing directly to the last season, which was the best looking season by far.
And that's the thing.
And
like,
this is a lot more like season 2.
Exactly.
But they're action scenes and they can't do those.
But even back in those seasons, I didn't find myself thinking, wow, this looks hideous. And I don't mean the action scenes. Two characters talking look bad in this consistently. Like the scene with the screenshot I posted of the opera singer's flashback looked hideous so often. Just the scene of Richter and Juiced talking looked bad on the riverbank.
There were a good number of times where I just looked at it and was like, why does Richter look edited on top of the grass? Like half crying.
Yeah,
it's
like so much is like, why do you look so bad? The scene where Annette is trying to whip up the crowd in Revolution also looks real bad. And like, yeah, there's stuff in the previous seasons, even in season 4, like Isaac kind of sliding along the floor when he's fighting Camila in like the fight dimension. But that kind of stuff's understandable to me in a fight scene, but so many is like, why is this reverse shot look hideous?
I mean, a lot of what you're saying, honestly, let me be blunt. This does not look worse than season 2 of Castlevania in the Netflix original run. That season jackknifes between okay to very shades of okay fight scene to people talking in a basement. I think this probably looks better than most seasons, in my opinion. I think some of the stylistic choices work, like Annette's escape scene turning into completely line artless like blurs as the music swells. I thought that looked and was really awesome. I enjoy a lot of this season, but I don't think it's the most immaculate looking show, but I also will insist it never has been. This show has always been up and down with the quality and budget, scene to scene, in a way that's weird.
I honestly think from a lot of the stuff I've been hearing about how this show looks, that most of it comes down to a lot of this looks like rotoscope CGI. And that just seems to bug some people way more than it does others. Like that scene with Annette where she's whipping up the crowd. I can get how that looks jank to a lot of people. It didn't bother me. It looked fine to me.
Yeah, that scene didn't bug me. I'm trying to think, like, what was the non-action scene? Because obviously, you know, the weight of the action always, like, drags down, right? A lack of budget or something else. I'm trying to think of a normal dialogue scene that got me. But yeah, no, there are also wide shots where, like, if it's wide enough, especially towards the end of the season, it looks like they're just wholesale replacing a character with CG. Like, if they're a certain size on screen, they just swap them out because it's easier, I guess. It's cheaper.
Yeah, that's what bothered me more than the dialogue or the fight scenes even. It felt like we were getting that even from episode 1. Just Maria and Richter walking alongside a cart. It was like, this doesn't look right. But it wasn't enough for me to be like, oh man, this whole show looks terrible. But it is just weird.
Yeah, no, those shots were what bothered me the most. I am always purely hateful of replacing a character with CG for any reason. Like, at least animate them with a consistent technique. If you need to change two characters to CG for a long shot, just cut to a watercolor painting and slowly pan across it while you have the dialogue. Just don't spend the money and then put it somewhere else.
Yeah, there was a moment when we got to like a river sort of thing, and the water looked so bad. I was like, it could have just been still. You don't even animate that.
I felt kind of bad thinking like, man, none of these fights are as cool as earlier fights in this series when, I mean, you're comparing them to some pretty kick-ass action scenes from the earlier seasons, which were way over the top for the tone of this show sometimes.
Yeah, I found myself just thinking like, wow, it has nothing to do with the animation quality. I just felt like they were just more interesting conceptually in prior seasons, where I feel like in this season, everybody's power is I summon knife-shaped projectiles and shoot them at you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's like 4 or 5 characters who have that as their primary attack.
Yeah, it was like straight up the Last Airbender to Legend of Korra conversion of like, well, the people who knew how to write these powers in interesting ways are gone.
Like, I just thought of Alucard in versus Trevor in season 1. Even the villagers fighting the night creatures, I thought was pretty good. And this just, I didn't feel like there was anything that hit me that way. It was just a lot of the party, because this season can't have that many characters, I guess, fighting the night creatures in every episode, because too many people complained about there not being enough action, so now there has to be an action scene in every episode, even if it doesn't always flow right.
It does seem like there's more action scenes in this than the prior series entirely on average, for sure.
Yeah, it felt like there was some kind of mandate to have one in every episode.
Mm-hmm.
Which does stop them from the conundrum of season 2, where they sit in the basement for episodes on end.
That's true, but I also would have gone for some of that, because I feel like Richter doesn't have an arc, and then they tell me the arc has been completed, and I'm like, where was it?
Well, that was great, because then Richter was like, I don't know.
Right.
It's like, did you have some kind of realization and anime power up? I guess. I don't fucking, I'm a Belmont. I'm not emotionally equipped to understand any of this.
I'm super powerful for this one sequence. I immediately go back to basically useless.
He was out of hearts. Spamming Grand Cross will do that, man.
Yeah. He blew that way too early.
Man, something about, like, I feel like the standard I hold what Richter and this team can do is higher than it was for the previous team, because they are from Rondo of Blood. We've seen them do really cool stuff.
Right? It's Maria.
One of them is in Smash Brothers.
Right?
I feel like this probably should have been set in a colony and not in France. Like, I think the whole thing should have been. It's just weird to me to try and fuse the very cool, which would be the basis for a fucking great vampire story of colonists are literally fucking vampires. Here's them sucking a slave dry. It felt weird to combine that with the French Revolution stuff, especially when it feels like the French Revolution is like 3 people in one meeting, and sometimes they talk about towns being taken, and I'm like, are we really doing this? Are we doing this thing where you talk about the revolution we never see?
It is bizarre that the French Revolution is happening over here in Paris and other important places, and the entire show is in this back shanty town, and this is what's really important.
Well, I mean, there was some stuff that happened in this back shanty town that I think we're going to blame on vampires if this ever gets a second part.
Yeah, that's something else that irks me of like, man, you sure did just lead into another season.
Yeah, my number one complaint with this entire show right now is that it should have had 2 more episodes and had a concluded thing.
Yes, I absolutely agree.
I really don't like it leading into another season and building up all these things. And like that last episode is the absolute epitome of we can't do a thing. We have to disable us shoving it into the hell portal. We have to do all of these. We can't go anywhere with these things we set up. We will make one change and then we will go, fan service? How did you get in my house?
Man, remember how how Alucard's supposed to be like disillusioned with humanity and become like reclusive for hundreds of years. I guess that never fucking happens.
Well, no, but he's like really into the revolution.
I mean, that lady ended up having the fucking ebony stone, and I'm pretty sure that's important, because how else is she casting eternal night over the city in France? He's like, wait a minute, this doesn't match up timeline-wise. I need to go get that shit. But yeah, my number one problem with this season, like, I don't think it looks especially worse than the prior seasons. And in a lot of ways, I like the characters much more. Like, it's not as infuriating as prior seasons have been to watch for me. I really just did not like that ending at all. I feel like you absolutely could have had this conclude in the amount of episodes, and better, like, add 2 more. It felt completely unnecessary.
Yeah, it wasn't like, it wasn't that it was bad, it's that it was incorrect. That's not how you do that. You did it wrong, try again.
So how did you guys like the one Castlevania song we got to hear?
It's okay.
It wasn't as good as it should have been.
Yeah, I kind of wish it wasn't like, okay, Richter, you've achieved self-actualization. I guess you've informed me that that's happened. I didn't witness it with my own eyes, but I'll trust you. What's your powers now? I use flame jets and just fucking kill them all. And I'm like, oh, Sypha did really cool things with her magic. Are you gonna get any of that going since you're apparently the most powerful Belmont ever? And Juiced was just talking about how he also was, and it's like, no, it's flame.
Well, yeah, because when you don't have the sub-weapon and you hit item crash, he does the fucking whip with the fire, so that's his iconic thing.
But he made ice gauntlets.
Well, yeah, because he needs to punch things because he's the muscle. He can't creep in on Maria's, like, end of things.
It's okay. At the end of his next season, he'll finally get across and do Grand Cross. And we'll all clap.
He already did Grand Cross.
He already did Grand Cross.
That was a fucking Grand Cross. That is how that
We're
looks.
headed for Hydro Storm.
I'm sorry. He has to yell it.
He does, and he won't. They'll absolutely fail that assignment.
He's gonna be like, Grand Cross.
Yeah, his voice actor sucks so bad. He's the worst in the show.
Yeah. God, like every time I looked at him, I'm like, you need to be about 50% wider and stop being the world's weirdest, most invincible fuckboy. This is creeping me out.
I'm gonna be so mad if the next season opens with, if we even fucking get it, with just Alucard going, here's the flail, Richter. I've been holding it. I don't know why you don't have it, considering fucking Trevor did even at the end of season 4, but here. Man, remember when the vampire killer like made vampires explode in the earlier seasons, and it kind of just doesn't do that in this season?
Well, now it sizzles them a bit when they hold it for a long time. I like Juiced blaming him for the fact the web sucks now. I'm like, why are you blaming him?
Maybe there's some other soul trapped inside, and he has to go in and defeat it before it's the true vampire. Like, he goes in there, and like Nathan Graves is in there, but he's like 50 and ripped. Which I thought's who that old man was for a second.
That would have been hilarious.
That would have been so much better.
I'm
Jesus.
like, there's no reason for there to be a living Belmont he doesn't know about. Oh my God, he's Nathan Graves.
I thought somehow it was going to be Trevor. I'm like, that doesn't line up, but who else is it going to be? And it's like, oh, it's Juiced. Harmony dissonance happened off screen and everybody died, I guess.
Yeah, that sucks so bad.
That sucks so bad.
I was
These
so
motherfuckers just knew they couldn't get a season about Harmony greenlit.
How fucked up is it that we get Juiced Belmont and he has no furniture?
That's pretty fucked
Yeah,
up.
That is pretty fucked up.
No furniture, no dashing, nothing.
Is the fucking abbot that's Maria's dad supposed to be Shaft?
I don't know, maybe.
Because they do that thing where they have kind of a similar-esque character that is fucking called a different thing.
Yeah, no, they definitely went, these are normal roles in a Castlevania. Let's just swap the names around and figure out who's going to do what.
I was so hopeful when they went to talk to him in the church the first time. And he's like, what? No, nobles wouldn't do that. That's ridiculous. But hey, I'll go look into it. And if it turns out there's vampires, we'll burn this motherfucker down. I'm like, one time, can we one time not have the church just be automatically evil?
No.
It would be such a clever thing to do if one priest was not the worst person here.
It's amazing. The moment that started, I was like, well, as we know, churches in fiction, this type of fiction and tone especially, need to be one of two things: corrupt or insanely incompetent. And he seems to be running a relatively competent thing at the beginning. So even in episode 1, I'm like, you're corrupt, aren't you? Which I guess in a way, he's kind of both.
Yeah, he's also just real dumb.
He's real stupid, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what this motherfucker's plan was. It's like, I'm gonna make a deal. It's like somebody, everybody thinks that they can scam the scammer.
Yes.
Well, in this case, the scammer's Satan.
So what he's doing is in reference to the Vendee War, which was a counter-revolutionary uprising in 1793, because the local, like they call it a royalist or a Catholic uprising, because the locals were pissed about the civil constitution of the clergy and the conscriptions into the army, and they just sort of went, you know what? Fuck these guys, and they just kind of rose up a peasant army and slaughtered a bunch of soldiers, which is what they're referring to with him raising an army of night creatures, and then we don't do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like the whole French Revolution part is just barely there.
It's definitely not capitalized on nearly well enough.
Yeah.
When they announced it, I'm like, oh shit, are they gonna do the easiest, coolest thing in history and make Marie Antoinette some horribly evil vampire? Oh no, they're not. Okay.
Yeah, it feels like it barely evolved beyond the blueprint, the outline for the series. Mm-hmm. They just went, this is when it happens, we will have a lot of good ideas.
Instead, they'll make Elizabeth Bathory like an evil sun god?
Right? Like, where the fuck did that come from?
Like, guys, you're kind of throwing water on your own, like, themes about slavery and shit when she's not, like, part of vampire fiction is humans are the real monsters to an extent, so you make her explicitly not, like she never was. It's weird. Although they should have a line in the next season, because there's like a bunch of scenes where characters talk about how slavery is the natural order. She should have a thing like, I'm Egyptian. No, it's not. You think those fucking pyramids were built by slaves? I was pretty high on this series for like the first 3 episodes, and I feel like after that it just kind of spun its wheels and slid off. I really think, unironically, some basement conversations would have helped this series. Because I feel like Trevor, Sifa, and Alucard, like, I feel like they have a lot of really strong character interactions. And I don't feel like Annette, Maria, and Richter really have those.
Mm-hmm.
No, their chemistry is nowhere near as strong.
Yeah, when they pretend that there's a love sort of thing going on with Richter and Annette, it just feels weird and out of nowhere almost.
Right.
Like it's right at the last episode.
I took it back twice. I'm like, are they blushing now, or is that an animation error? What's happening in this scene?
Right, because that is Richter's wife in the games.
But like he comes back, he's like, hey, sorry, I totally freaked out and ran away for 3 days. She's like, nah, it's cool, I'm into you. What the fuck is this conversation?
Right. Realistic.
I guess.
Apart from that, honestly, Annette was kind of the highlight of the series for me.
Yeah.
She gets a lot of the best action cuts. The moment she shows up, I'm like, oh, fuck, the Haitians are here. Now shit's gonna get real.
Yeah, I think this show would be unbelievably bad without her.
She helps a lot. I like the one combat thing I thought was real dope is like, oh, you use your weird magic telekinesis to make a bunch of crosses and imprison that guy. That's so cool. I wish that was an actual character and not a racist middle manager that exists to be killed for catharsis.
Yeah, she had all the best action stuff because she also had the thing where one of the vampires coming at her, she slams a prison door into the ground.
Yeah, that was great.
And that was great.
It was great.
And then everybody else says, well, I'm going to do the spin because that's easy to animate when you spin the thing and it becomes the you can vaguely tell it's pole shaped and it's spinning. effect, or I'm gonna shoot the knife projectiles at you.
Look, Richter knows that knives are optimal. He only has to throw one knife for 3 to come out in the game, so it just makes sense. But no, realistically for me, I really was hot on this series and started to feel like, oh God, this is not going well. I think it was like halfway through episode 6 when I'm like, oh, this plane is not landing. There's like...
I still thought it would. Like, Richter had his power up. This villain isn't interesting at all. Like, they barely even show her for one.
Right,
Yeah,
it's one of those things where like it felt like it could have been the end because there was so little going on. It's like, no, Richter could just end this, but then he's just weak in episode 8 for no reason.
Yeah, I'm really not looking forward to him in season 2 being strong for some reason.
It's like, now I can fight you and win.
Or an absolute worst case
gonna give him the
exactly.
Gonna give him the flail. Give him the flail.
Oh, great. Or Alucard's gonna win the battle, which was like, I know thematically why that made sense in the other season. It was still frustrating.
Right.
Is anybody in this series supposed to be fucking Eric Lecard?
No.
That wasn't the same timeline.
Well, Bathory didn't fucking care about the timeline.
That's true.
Yeah, they don't give a shit, and he's specifically French, so I assume, something about him is French. But I feel like he should be showing up, or at least a character with the surname Lecard.
And don't worry, they'll have someone come in next season and be like, he died off screen.
Yeah, the fucking Lydia Maxim
sure
thing was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I'm sorry. You can't do that. That's not cool.
We're just throwing away this entire cool cast because we needed him to be grumpy old man.
Look, we're not going to make the Juiced series. It's just not going to be.
I know it's not going to happen, but it still hurts.
Cramming Juiced into that character arc is also just sucks. It's like, oh, he just is grumpy old man. That's all he is. It's like, but he's Juiced. He can hardly speak and kills Dracula with friendship.
I genuinely thought the moment Annette showed up that she was Lecard, because she starts out with a spear. And I went, oh no, they made Eric Lecard a hot black woman. People are going to be so mad, and I'm going to love every second of it.
No, she's still great. She just doesn't. She just isn't Eric Lecard. Seriously though, what is
Until
this
next
series
season.
without her? Like at all? She's
Bad, even worse.
Right. Like they underdeveloped literally everyone.
Yeah,
but her.
Like all the interesting stuff is her flashbacks and her themes and her
Edward.
magic and
like that's it.
Yeah, and
it's
him.
them. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's weird that there's almost nothing going on with like Richter and Maria, and they're the main characters allegedly.
honestly, I would have been happier if you had just done a wholly original thing. Be like, we're gonna what's that shit that isn't canon? The Game Boy one with the girl.
Legend. So Sonya.
Yeah, if they had just been, here's Sonya Belmont. She's a hot black chick who kicks ass.
I mean, that would whip. Let's be real.
But man, like it just felt like so much of this was like the scope felt so small for what they were telling us the scope was.
Yeah.
Like it's the French Revolution, but it's really just this one town. Well, she's gonna smash the Elizabeth Bathory is gonna destroy France and make it into a vampire kingdom, and then go do the same thing to America. I feel like directly comparing this to America kind of fucks up your colonists or evil vampire things. I'm not sure why you're having the villain say that, but it's like, okay, well, it's still all in this one town. Luckily, all the important things to the plan that involve all of France are in this one town.
Yeah, he has an army of night cruisers. It's 5 night creatures.
In one scene at a time with the implied more elsewhere somehow.
It unironically reminded me of DMC, the DMC, of where it's like, we have to destroy the evil Demon King's grasp on humanity. Luckily, everything he uses to do that are within the same 8 blocks. They probably shouldn't have tried to keep to the same tone as Warren Ellis once Warren Ellis was gone. Because they don't mean it, and you can tell.
The tone's barely different, but it does feel weird because of what's left from the same tone. Mm-hmm. There's a lot less goat fucking.
Yeah, it's a lot less, the person who wrote this is dirty and vulgar, and more, we're gonna say a slur, isn't that cool? And I'm like, no, I'm not 12 anymore. Not slur, curse. We're going to say a curse.
Yeah, I was going to say they
We're
only
gonna
had
say a
one thing
curse
that was
word.
a slur. The other things were just curses, where it's like Richter's going to say the F word.
That one felt so half-hearted. Like, and again, it comes down to that guy having really bad delivery on everything.
Yeah, honestly, I agree with you. The Richter's casting here is really, really bizarre. Not only for like him in this as he is designed, but also like Richter fucking Belmont.
Yeah, it does. I feel like it doesn't match the character they turned Richter into or Richter Belmont himself.
The idea.
Right,
yeah.
the idea of Richter Belmont. Like, he doesn't have the sort of emotional depth to any of these performances that would lead you to believe that he is like this tragic dude who is a child still. And then has overcomes that. That doesn't come true in his performance at all. And also, he's not cool.
Yeah, like,
Which is like an in-between, I think, a perfect handshake Predator style of the material and the actor.
this was never going to happen. There was never any chance of this happening, but I'm still mad that Maria has completely lost any of her from a completely different genre of everyone else energy
Yeah, that would have worked pretty well.
that she had in the very original Rondo of Blood. Like, I knew there was no way because she never had even a hint of that ever again in anything. But the fact there wasn't even like a scene where they reference it upset me. She should have done at least one double jump.
I kept waiting for it.
Yeah, that after like episode 2 when they had one of her animals die and she was really sad about it, I was like, this is missing everything that I wanted from Maria. It's like, no, she needs to just be kind of preposterous magical girl with insane powers.
Yeah, that ain't happening in Netflix Castlevania.
Nope. For some reason, they're really restrained, even though this is a brand new series.
Well, yeah, it's a brand new series, but only so they could get Warren Ellis's name the fuck off of it.
Right?
Because, yeah, he's credited as creator for all 5 seasons of the prior show.
He
so
wrote
it's like,
most of it. He wrote it all. He's still credited as the writer.
I don't think he's a writer on season 5.
On this season, no, but on the first
No,
4, he was
on
credited
season
as the writer.
5. In
There
the
was
original
no season 5. There's only 4.
Okay, he's not credited on the last season, is what I'm saying. As
He is on
anything other than,
Wikipedia.
is he as a writer?
Yeah, is the writer of every episode.
Weird. I thought he wasn't credited as a writer, but all right.
Like, I get it. I mean, I also get that Netflix doesn't want things to have too many seasons because then they have to start paying people.
But yeah, the thing is, like, people who come to Castlevania Netflix expect the tone of this new Richter Belmont thing to match up with the last thing. Because once again, nothing is as brave as the portable Castlevanias were, changing every system and aesthetic every game.
Right.
Except for Aria of Sorrow to Dawn of Sorrow. Well, they technically changed the aesthetic of the portraits.
They sure did.
That was for the worst. But yeah, I don't find any of the performances outstanding in the series either compared to the prior ones. Because, you get some highlights, like death.
Yeah, it also helps that they have material that allows these actors to perform instead of do exposition.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was really weird that Richter wandered to a random town and meets some girls who never come up again, who just give him a headband for almost no reason.
You want to hear something insane?
What's up?
Already on the wiki. They're like, this is liberty. I'm like, what the fuck?
Go fuck yourself.
that actually knocked the wind out of me a second ago.
I did not internalize that he had gone to a different town during that sequence.
Well, they didn't really depict it, so I don't blame you.
Yeah,
I thought he was just
also
wandering around in
confused.
town and like Juiced was just there.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's like Tara, don't you tell that boy where I am. I don't want him to know me. I'm going to be 1 mile away.
I'm going to live in the same town, but always on the other side. Make sure he doesn't come to the diner when I go to the diner.
It's from the other side of the tracks.
Yeah, that was really bizarre. It was only after Juice was saying all that stuff that I was like, oh, that was supposed to be a different town.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sure.
I think the only indication we got is the establishing shot had the French flags hanging in the middle of the town square. But that's all the only
This is the town with liberty.
Yes, this is the town with liberty.
I was honestly hoping Juiced was somehow Count Saint Germain again.
Oh my god.
When they did the wide shot of him sitting at the table, I'm like, oh, please, God, that would be so funny if he's like, it's me again, and then just left.
I knew from the outset, like 10 minutes in, I'm like, oh, they do not have the courage to just at any random moment have the portal open.
Right.
And Saint-Germain just like, I'm in the story now, bitch.
Yeah, no, that's his job. He's
That
a
could still
fucking
happen in
time
season
tourist.
2.
It's true. Nothing stops them from doing that.
Like, I'm scared that Dracula's going to show up in season 2. He's technically alive again after the end of fucking season 4.
Yeah, he'll show up and kill Bathory, and then Richter doesn't get to do anything.
That I already feel like that's probably what's going to be what happened. I feel like Alucard's going to be carrying this team for the most of fucking season 2.
Yeah, I don't like any of what they left as the tools for the next season, and I think this is the worst that has ever been in the series. Of like, oh, what are they going to do next season? And usually you have an idea, and at the end of the last series, it's like, oh, no, it's good. It's over. We got some closure and stuff. There were some cool moments. We're good. But this is the first season. It's been like, here's what we're setting up. And I'm like, yo, you ain't cooking.
Yeah, it feels like there's almost nothing set up. They just kill like the main villain's Darth Vader.
Alucard
shows up.
Richter got a power buff, but it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like I started doing the fucking Phantom air jerk when it's like the villain's primary heavy who has been the person they fight in almost every fucking scene. Oh shit, she's dead instantly because Alucard's here.
Yep.
Like, fuck off.
Yep.
We're going to start the next season and he's going to like exhale and reduce in size 50%. Like, oh man, being that powerful really takes it out of me. That's all I got, kids. It's up to you now.
Yeah, that is going to happen. And I think the next season has a really good chance of being the worst fucking season.
I think the next season should be 15 minutes long and it should start with Alucard doing the backwards dash at high speed.
Just pulls out the fucking shield rod. Let's do this.
Right?
I have 2 chrysogems. This is just over.
And then the whole animation freeze frames of text pops up, and then Bathory just goes, I'm going to quote the Bible. And then eat shit.
Power of Osiris spell goes off 12 times in a row, overlapping.
Right? Hell yeah.
But instead, it's going to be 8 episodes long of that one dude who's turned into a night creature singing and turning Maria's mom back into a human. That's going to be all we get.
Man, stop even having these original characters if you're just going to kill all of them.
Well, this one had an interesting turn, and then the ending shot of him just standing there drives me insane. Like, did you just say you had work to do? What is that even?
An interesting turn that is the thing they did in season 3, but less interesting.
I don't know if it's less interesting, but you know,
it's not as novel.
Yeah, I guess.
Man, I miss Isaac. I wish he was still somehow alive and could just show up and start kicking ass. What even is that lady's name? The vamp who Alucard killed?
Juentes? One moment. Drota Juentes.
Man, imagine being harder to remember than Godbrand.
I don't know. That seems pretty easy. When they call out Jacques' name, I'm like, we only know one of the villagers' names. He's gonna get eaten.
Yep. Yep.
I feel like I'm gonna go insane if in season 2 there's the scene where Richter forgives Olrox for killing his mom because his mom was a homophobe. Like, that's gonna make me insane.
Oh my god.
Well, like the way they like, of course Olrox could just be fucking lying, but the way he describes, why he killed Richter's mom is like, the guy didn't want to be a vampire, so I presume he was not running around doing evil vampire shit. He was probably minding his own business. So I'm just desperately afraid of he was just minding his own business and she was crazy and dogmatic and killed him.
That would be fucking unreal.
I feel like that's pretty likely, honestly.
Jesus Christ. You think it's unlikely that we're going to... I don't need to
Look,
agree.
like he's not going to like it, but Richter's going to say, I mean, I understand there were mistakes made on both sides. There were fine people on both sides.
Right?
Yeah, it's going to be like that.
Yeah, by the end, they're going to team up, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, a far more.
How many dead moms we got in this season? A lot of dead moms.
A lot.
It's like they have one trick.
Oh my! I spent this whole season looking at Maria's mom, going, "Don't kill her for pathos. Don't do it. I'll be so mad if you do it."
Yeah, I thought they were going to do it in like episode 3.
And then they didn't.
Right?
She kept being involved in fights and it not happening, and I'm like, okay, they're just busting my balls. It's not actually going to happen. And then at the very end, I'm like, you motherfuckers.
Mm-hmm.
Also, God, Maria, I'm sorry. You hate your dad. Kill him. What are you doing? What was
Right.
any of that was, oh, I'm going to need to go there and warn him. It's like, how did he capture you, too? You can summon monsters.
But there were many monks.
That's never stopped her before. She fights monsters all the time.
She only has 2 birds. There were 8 monks. Do the math. It's very simple.
She does not only have 2 birds.
Yeah,
It turns out.
I thought the turtle summon was pretty good.
That was hilarious.
Mm-hmm. I'm really glad they at least let her summon the creatures, like the actual Chinese gods. I wish that they'd had some sort of connection to like why she could do that, why they were the Chinese gods.
Well, no, like her powers are the same as Richter's. Like, what's up with that?
Yes.
I've got these parrot things.
Richter has one line where he's like, "Oh, we're related somehow, distantly, triple, double, cousins removed." So you can connect that. Oh, she's also connected to Sifa, I guess.
Yeah.
Even though her magic is entirely different, except her mom's isn't entirely different.
Yeah, her mom is identical to the Sifa magic because she's also a speaker.
So, okay. What if, hear me out, Emmanuel did the deal with some devil to get the Hellforge powers right before, having sex to birth Maria, and somehow the shit's hereditary and different when it passes on.
In very Chinese.
That timeline is the best because he spends weeks agonizing over his choice to, do something objectively evil for the greater good of the church. And as soon as he makes the deal with a demon, he thinks, in for a penny, I'm gonna go fuck that chick.
Right?
Yeah, he is explicitly Catholic, so I'm like, sorry, dude, you're not getting into heaven.
He's such an idiot.
I don't know. The first season had like one scene about the church being corrupt and evil, and I feel like it was so much cooler and landed so much harder than anything in this season, where the monsters show up and start mocking him.
Yeah, that was so much better.
Because he's praying to God, but he's so obviously evil. He's like, God's not gonna come help you. And then you get that scene where Trevor's like, is there any priest in this town who isn't a piece of shit? You go bless water. I get Richter's like a dipshit, but it's so weird to just rip the entire... Like, I'm sorry, you're trying to make an anime. Characters need to have abilities and strengths that define them as characters and tell the audience what they can do in a fight. Taking away, the Belmonts know everything about these monsters. It's dumb. Like, I don't know, it would have given him anything.
Yeah, he is. All of them just have the same reaction of, what are those? I don't know. What's any of this?
Like, that was a really great moment for Trevor in season 1, where he's like, oh, fuck. You bless water, set up pikemen, you make walls of ice. Like, and that also felt like you felt more emotionally involved because they're protecting this town. And I don't feel that, like, it felt like a bad 80s cartoon almost, where it's like the strike team has to go attack the base at the end, where I didn't feel like there was like no emotional tension whatsoever. Like, I wasn't concerned for the town at all.
The town is really weird in this because, like, in that final episode, it's a bunch of vampires cheering the streets for Bathory, and mix-in was just the regular humans. I'm like, wait, are the churchgoers like, do they know that the vampire is working with the church and they're fine with it? What exactly is going on?
And why were they hucking bread at Maria at the end? I didn't understand why the
that
crowd
made
hated them.
Yeah, I
no
don't
sense
know.
to instantly be like, we hate the main characters.
It just felt like there was something cut out. Like there was an angle to the town being more established. That we
Or
just didn't see.
shortcutted. Like, it's a French Revolution story. We need an angry mob.
Yeah.
Why, yes, I did write the last 4 Assassin's Creed games. Why do you ask?
Those don't have writers.
Well, we need to wrap this up. Does anyone have any other last comments before we get to our synopsis reviews and scores?
I would be remiss if I did not point out that they are not Templars. They are Knights of the Order of St. John, which is a sequel chapter to the Hospitaliers.
Thank you.
Also, Richter's mom is incredibly hot.
That's true.
Thank you. Well, let's get to it. A few sentences each on your thoughts, totally synopsizing it, and a score 1 to 10. We're going to start with Dr. Aggro.
Castlevania Nocturne was pretty good. It never really dipped below mid, and there were some hype moments and some cool characters and some great shots. Like, it's pretty decent TV, with an ending that was complete, incorrect garbage. So I'd call it like a strong 6.
Bob.
Yeah, the season's disappointing, but it's not like terrible. So I'm also gonna sit around a 6. Like they could do a lot better, and it feels like it really isn't taking advantage of what they have.
Chris Wolfhard.
I feel like it's always hard to not judge something for what it isn't. Like, you have to kind of accept for what it is. This had a couple parts I liked. If you wrote down everything in this on a sheet of paper and I looked at it, I'd be like, this is amazing. But the execution left a lot to be desired. I really do think it just looks terrible in insane ways very often. A lot of it is that, no, if you're rotoscoping CG shit, it just looks wrong to me. I also miss shading. I'm going to hope season 2 can bring it back and isn't just really hacky resolutions to character relationships and jerking off Alucard. 5.
I actually rather enjoyed the show. I like basically every character in it, and I do think Annette, it really is the highlight of the show. It really gets unfortunate to me that ending makes me feel so sour on all of it, because leading up to those last 2 episodes, I could have seen myself giving this a really high number. But unfortunately, all of that ending, and the moment Alucard shows up and one-shots this important person, this big bad, this Trota Juentes, it is when that happens that I really just solidify at the exact same number as Aggro and Bob. It's a 6. God, please just delete those last 2 endings. Do a new one.
That season 2 just why is it 2 episodes? Oh, it starts at episode 7.
That would rule so much. Season 2, we're deleting these 2 episodes, redoing them, and only having 2 more episodes, because Dan was so right when he said it should have been 2 episodes longer and then just ended.
The Castlevania Nocturne movie.
And in fact, oh yeah, do it like the Gundam movies.
Right?
Hell yeah, you get to pretend the thing you thought of in the last few episodes was definitely the whole point all along. Maybe we can, write some interesting backstory or character to our main big bad.
Did her mom die?
Nah, fuck that. We'll do it like Last Order. Just ignore the last couple of chapters, and then we go to space and do a tournament.
Aggro, as disingenuous as that idea you've proposed is, I genuinely think that will be better than whatever season can follow this ending. Give me the space tournament. On this side, we have the French revolutionaries. On this end, we have Dracula, because we thought it would be funny to have him be here. And then we have a Thundercats vampire. What? She turned into a Thundercat. I don't know how you deal with that. Her face went brunyo at the end. The executive producers for this GigaBoots video are Esme, E. Lee Broyles, Spaceman Spiff, Red Blaze 27, Brendan O'Sullivan, A Reminder for Symphony of War, Cooper Tank, Very Best Plot, Iconic Bane, and Rado. Thank you very much to our executive producers. And also these guys. If you want to become an executive producer or normal patron, head on over to patreon.com/gigaboots today.